Duggan, Remax Boulder Video Podcast. This is our highlight of the month when we have DB Wilson, our stats expert here at Remax Boulder, to let us know what's going on in the market. DB, thanks again for being here. Appreciate it.
Happy to do it.
Let's dive into what's happening at the market. So this is end of January of 2018 we're talking about.
We are. So again, I'd like to point out it's just 1 month.
Okay.
And so things, you don't really have to put that much credence in it because the data point is kind of small. But we look at 10 different variables. We look at the number of listings on the market as of the end of the month, median price, average price, sales price to list price, days on market, the total number of sales, the number of expired listings, those that never sell, the months of inventory, how many months it would take to sell the existing inventory, percent under contract, and then what the interest rates are. And we compare that January of 2018 with January of 2017.
Got it. So I understand that interest rates are a pretty hot topic right now. What's your thought on interest rates?
So they're volatile,
Okay.
and they're rising. What is interesting is that they were up about 3% if you look at January 2017 and January 2018. It finished at 4.03. Today, that average is already at 4.38%.
Okay. And again, today is February 20th when we're talking today.
Correct.
Okay.
So that jump of 35%, or 0.35%, I'm sorry, to 4.38% just shows you how volatile that is. And while we don't expect it to rise that rapidly here in the future, we think it is what is going to be happening the rest of the year. And the expert economists initially predicted 4.5 to 4.8% by the end of the year. That could be more like 5%.
Right.
So
Still got to keep it in perspective, right? Though we're both been around long enough that we had rates as high as 16, so it's still pretty good, but it's scary.
It's real good.
Yeah.
But it will affect a buyer. And I think what we're seeing, we were in a sales meeting this morning, what we're seeing is that a lot of people are jumping into the market, and I think it's somewhat influenced by the rise in interest rates.
A little bit of fear in there. Okay.
It is. Now, all of that being said, where are we with the other vital statistics compared with a year ago?
Okay, dive into single family first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do that. So currently, or at the end of January, there are 455 active listings in all of Boulder County. That's just 9 listings more than a year ago. So again, the inventory is very low. Of that 455, 45% of them were under contract. So again, that's kind of indicative of a very strong market. A couple of the other things that we look at is the sales price to list price and the months of inventory to try to see if it's a seller's market or a buyer's market. The percent of sale price to list price is 97.3. That is off somewhat, like a year ago was 98%, but that's still strong. That's typically 95 to 97%. So the 97.3 shows a little bit of favoritism to the seller. What's real significant is that we still only have 2.9 months worth of inventory. For a stable market, we always think 5 to 7 months of inventory. If it's above 7, it would be a buyer's market. Below 5 would be the seller's market. So
still leaning toward that seller's market.
It is. Now, as to the number of actual sales, we finished January with 156. That's just off slightly from the year before of 164. I look back at 2016 for January, we sold 150. So it's all pretty close there, but a little bit off. Probably of real interest is what's happening average price-wise and sales price-wise. Average price is up almost 6% from a year ago, and that was just a little over $724,000 for Boulder County. The median price has dropped slightly from a year ago and finished at about $551,000, a little over $551,000. So that's kind of interesting.
Squirrely is a word to use before, right?
Squirrely would be good. So, of course, median would be half of the homes above that and half the homes below that. And so that's right at that middle sale as to what the price was. But I think the real indicator here is the average price is rising.
Okay.
Okay. So then in looking at attached dwellings, again, I would point out this is only 1 month's worth of data, and we had a huge jump in median price and a fairly significant rise in average price. And this is due in large part to a couple of new developments that have come on the market. One's called The Row at Goose Creek, which is in Boulder. The other is that the Peloton has actually re-released some of the units that they initially rented out from 5 years ago. They refurbished them and they're back on the market. So I expect these numbers to come down slightly, but as of the end of January, the average price for an attached dwelling in Boulder County was a little over $468,000, and the median was $429,000.
Okay, at least these new projects gave us some inventory and something to sell.
Absolutely, and inventory is up about 17% from a year ago, but it's still only 146 units in total
Still small
for Boulder
anyway.
County, and of which 49% are under contract. Still pretty small number. The months of inventory is way down at 1.8 months of inventory, and the sales price to list price is 99.7%.
Okay.
So what we're seeing here to start the year off is kind of typical what we've seen the last 4 or 5 years, and that is that it starts off virtually the 1st of January and continues very hot in the first quarter to first half of the year. And so this is kind of following the trend, the most recent trends that we've been experiencing. Again, inventory is up ever so slightly, but very low overall. And I just can't say enough about our concern about the interest rates, because with each rise in interest rate, it cuts down.
Takes more buyers out of the market, right?
It does. And I don't think enough are going to come out of the market to adversely affect prices and that kind of thing. But I do think if you're thinking about buying, it's important to take it pretty seriously. Right. If you're thinking, well, maybe next year would be better. Well, if interest rates are 5 or above, what does that do to your monthly payment?
One thing interesting too is just at our weekly sales meetings when we do our tour. I think this morning at our meeting we had 19 new listings and 10 of them were under contract already.
Right. Yeah.
So just listening to the stories of the agents as far as the quantity of showings, which were some pretty outrageous stories as far as
60 on one property.
Right, 60 showings that first week and multiple offers on certain properties.
Right.
So, I mean, real estate's definitely local. That's not all of them, of course, but it still helps us keep our finger on the pulse of the market, just watching what's happening with all the agents at RE/MAX of Boulder and their experiences. So this morning was definitely interesting.
I found it interesting, yeah.
So, and it's not like 19 listings for 120 agents is a huge number. It's still pretty small, but the fact that half of them essentially sold the first week on the market, it's not going to leave a lot of inventory sitting around for buyers to pick from. So.
That's very true, and I do think that it's important that you still have to price it correctly, and you need to rely on some professional advice, because I think that can help assure the fact that if you're selling your house, that you're getting it on the market. I think the other side of that is that it's really important to have an experienced buyer's agent representing you on the buyer's side, because there may be some tips and tricks
to write that winning offer.
To get that winning offer, exactly.
Right.
So.
DB, thank you for being here today for the update. Appreciate it.
Pleasure. And thanks for having me.
If you're interested further in stats, RE/MAX of Boulder has done a real estate report that we publish every year, and you can get that by calling your RE/MAX of Boulder agent. Duane Duggan, RE/MAX of Boulder, video podcast, signing off.